Welcome to the Money Mindset and Habits podcast.
Great to be here.
Today we're doing a deep dive into a really compelling story. It's about the hidden traps of trying to impress people with money. And importantly, how one person managed to completely turn their financial life around.
Yeah, and this isn't just, counting pennies. It gets into the psychology of why we spend.
Exactly. It's about building real financial freedom. We're looking at a guy named Jake, 27 years old. Seemed like he had it all figured out.
On the surface, yeah.
But he was caught in this cycle, living way beyond his means just to keep up an image.
It's a pressure cooker situation,
Yeah.
and we'll see how it can really undermine you financially without you even realizing it sometimes.
And the amazing part, how he flipped the script in just 1 year. So if you've ever felt that pressure, the keeping up with the Joneses thing,
Or if you feel like you're working hard but just not getting ahead.
then Jake's story, well, it's got some powerful insights, some
Wow.
really practical stuff too.
Absolutely. It's fascinating how common that feeling is, wanting to project success, especially when you're younger.
Right.
And social media, well, it just throws gasoline on that fire, doesn't it? Comparison culture is huge.
Totally. So Jake's story is a great reminder that, what you see, it's often not the whole financial picture, not even close.
Okay, so let's get into Jake. He's 27, working in tech sales in New York, making about $3,000 a month.
Which sounds decent, right?
Yeah.
Especially for 27.
Yeah, respectable.
Yep.
And outwardly, he looks successful. Designer clothes, the newest iPhone every year.
Had a car that turned heads, apparently.
Right, ticked all those boxes of, visible success. He really presented that image of affluence.
Which is so tempting to chase, isn't
That's
it?
incredibly tempting.
Yeah.
But let's look at the spending because that's where the image cracks.
Okay.
The sources show, despite looking good, he was basically broke by the second week of every month.
Wow, halfway through the month.
Huh.
That's a big gap between how things looked and how they actually were.
A huge gap.
And I think many of us can kind of recognize the thoughts he used to justify it. I work really hard, I deserve nice things.
Oh yeah, the I deserve it trap.
Classic.
Or people in my field, they expect me to look sharp. Or even just, it's not that expensive, I'll figure it out later.
That last one is dangerous. That figured out later mindset.
It really is. That internal justification, it just paves the road to trouble, doesn't it?
It does. And it highlights this difference between, say, rewarding yourself responsibly and just letting what you think others expect dictate your spending.
Yeah, his internal voice was all about that immediate buzz, how people saw him.
Right, not about building anything solid for himself.
So where did that $3,000 actually go? Let's break it down.
Okay.
Rent was a massive $1,500, half his income, right there.
Wow. In New York, I guess, but still steep.
Then the car payment plus gas, another $500. That's what, 2/3 of his income gone already.
Easily. $2,000 out of $3,000 just on rent and car.
Then $400 a month eating out.
And another $300 on clothes, gadgets, just random stuff he bought. Impulse buys.
So add that up. $1,500, $500, $400, $300. That's $2,700.
Right. Leaving maybe $300. Oh, wait, the source said $100 left for savings or emergencies, so
Bam.
maybe my math was a bit off or the numbers fluctuated. Point is, very little left.
And even that $100, the source says, often just got spent on whatever caught his eye, not really saved.
Exactly. The imbalance is just stark when you lay it out. So much going to maintaining the look.
The car, the clothes, eating out constantly. It's all image-based spending, really.
A healthy financial picture would prioritize saving, investing,
Yeah.
not spending almost everything, right?
Absolutely. Even a small emergency fund makes such a difference. It's that buffer. Should be priority number one, really.
And the kicker, Jake didn't even see it as a problem initially.
No.
No, he kind of confused being super busy, always on, with being financially okay.
No, the busy trap.
Yeah.
Mistaking activity for progress.
Yeah. He was so wrapped up in playing the part of Mr. Successful, he wasn't looking at the actual bank balance.
That lack of awareness is so key. The emotional high you get from looking successful can totally blind you to the financial reality.
Having the latest stuff, busy social life, easy to think that equals well-being.
But as Jake found out, those are not reliable signs at all.
Well, yeah, that illusion came
Okay.
crashing down
Yeah.
hard.
What happened?
The turning point was pretty mundane, actually. His car broke down, needed a $500 repair.
Okay, $500, not a fortune, but...
But for Jake, in his situation, might as well have been $5,000. He just didn't have it.
Right. The fact that $500 for a common thing like a car repair wasn't there, that just shows how precarious things were. Zero safety net.
And this incident just forced him to confront it. immediately and comfortably.
So how did he handle it?
Well, the real shock came when he tried to pay. His card was declined.
Ouch. Publicly.
Yep. Imagine the embarrassment. Then he checks his bank balance, sees just $23.45.
Wow. $23. That's a brutal wake-up call.
Absolutely brutal. Forced him to face the music. And it ended with him having to borrow the $500 from his best friend.
Oh, man. After projecting that image of success, having to ask a friend for cash, that must have stung.
You bet. Beyond the embarrassment, it must have been this sudden, stark realization of how fragile it all was.
Probably shattered that image he'd worked so hard to build.
And it led to some serious thinking. Lying in bed that night, he actually wrote down this question. It's really powerful. How did I become a full-time worker with absolutely nothing to show for it?
That hits hard. I think a lot of people might feel that, even if they aren't quite at Jake's point. Working, but where's it going?
Right. That question just cuts right to it. It's a shift from the outside view to a really honest internal look.
A true awakening moment, realizing all that effort wasn't building anything real.
And from there, he had some key realizations like, okay, these expensive clothes, they didn't actually help me grow as a person. This flashy car, yeah, it looked cool, but it was costing him his financial stability. Big time.
The cost wasn't just the payment, it was the opportunity cost, too.
Exactly. Yeah. All those fancy dinners. Nice at the time, but the satisfaction was so fleeting. Temporary.
Going the next day.
And maybe the biggest one. The people he was trying so hard to impress, they weren't exactly lining up to help him when he had this crisis.
And that really exposes the superficiality of relationships built on just status or stuff, doesn't it?
It really does.
It's
True friends are there when things get tough, regardless of your car or your watch.
absolutely chasing validation through spending. It's ultimately empty.
So yeah, the car breakdown, the declined card, that was his rock bottom.
But it sounds like it was the rock bottom he needed.
Exactly what the source suggests. It was the jolt, the wake-up call that forced him to take a really hard look at his life and his choices.
It's unfortunate it sometimes takes a crisis, but yeah, that rock bottom can provide immense clarity and motivation.
And credit to him, he used it. He didn't just wallow, he used it as the starting point for a total turnaround.
Okay, so he hits this low. What did he actually do? The source mentions a 30-day reset.
Yeah, very deliberate thing. He basically decided to just stop. Cold turkey on the old habits for 30 days.
What did that look like specifically?
No more eating out. At all.
Okay, that's a big cut right there.
Canceled his Netflix subscription. Seems small, but it's
Yeah.
symbolic, right?
Yeah.
Cutting non-essentials.
Every bit counts.
He even deleted Instagram.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, right? To stop that constant comparison feed.
Yeah, removing the triggers. Smart.
And he actually told his close friends, hey, I'm doing a financial reset. So he was upfront about it.
That takes guts. Being open about needing to make changes.
Definitely. So he created this space, this mental clarity, by just stopping the drain.
And then, presumably, started taking positive steps.
Yes, absolutely. He didn't just cut back, he got proactive. First thing, budgeting.
A foundation.
Yep, just a simple Google sheet.
Yeah.
But he tracked every expense, finally getting that awareness of where the money was actually going.
Crucial first step. You can't manage what you don't measure, right?
So true. Then he did something really practical, looked around at his stuff.
Ah, selling things.
Yeah. Sold his Apple Watch, some extra sneakers he didn't wear, other unused tech. He raised $500 that way.
Which was exactly what he needed for the car repair. And probably gave him a little cushion, too.
Exactly. It shows you often have assets you don't even think about. Cash just sitting there in unused stuff.
Very practical. Turning clutter into capital.
Then, the classic advice, but it works. Automated savings.
Pay yourself first.
Right. Set up an automatic transfer, $300 every paycheck, straight into a savings account he wouldn't easily touch.
Takes the decision-making out of it. Removes the temptation. That's so powerful for building consistency.
It really is. And it wasn't just the money mechanics. He worked on his mindset, too.
How so?
Started reading books like The Psychology of Money, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Good choices. Foundational stuff.
And he started journaling about his relationship with money, his beliefs, his habits. Really digging into the why.
That's huge. Addressing the underlying psychology is just as important as the spreadsheets. Maybe more so for long-term change.
Totally agree. It shows a really deep commitment to not just changing habits, but changing his whole perspective.
So this combination of cutting back, budgeting, finding extra cash, automating savings, and self-education, that's a solid plan.
And it paid off quickly. The source says within just 90 days, 3 months, He'd built up a basic emergency fund.
Wow, from $23 to an emergency fund in 90 days?
Impressive. Eliminated his credit card debt completely.
Nice. Debt freedom is huge.
And he'd actually developed clear financial goals for himself, knew what he was working towards.
That's incredible progress in a short time. Shows what focus can do. Getting out of debt, having that cushion, that must have felt amazing.
Oh, absolutely. A huge weight lifted, I imagine, and gave him space to think longer term.
Now, you mentioned he told friends. What about, like, coworkers? Did people notice?
They did. Apparently, some coworkers noticed he wasn't going out as much, wasn't buying stuff.
Yeah.
Some even kind of teased him about becoming boring.
Ugh. That just shows you the societal pressure, doesn't it? Opting out of the consumption game can get you weird reactions.
Yeah, it highlights how ingrained that keeping up appearances culture is. But credit to Jake, he stuck with his plan despite the noise.
Good for him. Takes strength to go against the grain like that.
But the biggest change, it was internal. He reported feeling this newfound sense of control over his money, over his life.
Ah, that's the real prize, isn't it?
Totally. Way better than the fleeting high from buying something new, that deep sense of security and control.
That's genuine well-being. Not just looking wealthy, but feeling secure.
Right.
Sustainable happiness.
Okay, before we jump to the 1 year mark, just want to remind everyone listening, if Jake's story is resonating, or if you're looking for more tapes like these, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's called Finance Tips. We share lots of practical advice and stories there.
Yeah, definitely check it out. Okay, so 1 year later, what's the update on Jake?
The transformation is pretty remarkable. He's not just stable, he's actually thriving.
That's great to hear.
He even got promoted, moved into a higher paying sales role.
Oh, interesting. Maybe that focus and discipline spilled over into his work life, too.
Could be. And crucially, he's consistently living below his means now. That's become his norm.
That's the golden rule right there. Spend less than you earn.
And get this, he's investing 20% of his income now.
20%? That's fantastic. Building serious long-term wealth with that kind of savings rate.
And he has a major goal he's saving for, his first rental property.
Wow. From broke and borrowing $500 to saving for an investment property in, what, a year and a bit?
Yeah, it's a complete 180, a total shift in priorities and mindset.
No longer about the immediate flash, but about building real, tangible assets, future security.
That's it. The flashy car, the latest gadgets, they're gone.
And replaced by?
Peace of mind, real security, freedom from that constant financial stress.
You really can't put a price on that, can you? That feeling of stability, it reduces so much background anxiety.
Allows you to focus on what actually matters. And his core mindset shift is summed up in this quote he shared. I think it's brilliant. Wealth isn't about how you look. It's about how long you could survive if your income stopped today.
That just reframes everything, doesn't it? Puts the focus squarely on resilience, on your actual financial buffer, not the superficial stuff.
It's such a fundamental shift. True wealth is that ability to weather storms, not the fancy watch.
Exactly. That understanding is key to building real security.
And his philosophy now, he says, I'd rather be quietly rich than loudly broke.
I love that. Quietly rich than loudly broke speaks volumes.
Doesn't it? It captures the wisdom he gained. True wealth doesn't need an audience. Its value is internal. Security, freedom, peace.
So for anyone listening, if Jake's story hit home...
Yeah, if it feels familiar at all, please know you're really not alone. That pressure to get validation through spending, it's incredibly common.
It's a powerful human drive, wanting acceptance, wanting to fit in, and it gets tangled up with our money habits so easily, often in unhealthy ways.
Recognizing that tendency in yourself, like Jake did, that's the first big step to breaking free.
And the central message here, the big takeaway from Jake's journey, is just so important.
Yeah.
Most people don't really have a money problem, fundamentally.
Okay.
They have a validation problem.
Ah, that's insightful.
And once you stop chasing that approval with your wallet, that's when you unlock real financial freedom.
Stop chasing approval. Unlock freedom. That's powerful. It really gets to the root cause of so much financial stress.
Exactly. Shift the focus from external validation to internal well-being, long-term security.
Yeah.
Make choices that actually serve you.
Well, we really hope Jake's story gave you some food for thought today. Maybe spark some ideas for your own financial journey.
And remember, building a healthy relationship with money, it's ongoing. Stories like Jake's offer lessons, guidance, and honestly, a lot of hope.
Definitely. So we'll leave you with one final thought, kind of sums up Jake's turnaround. It's better to be underestimated with money than overhyped with debt.
Wise words.
Thank you so much for listening to the Money Mindset and Habits podcast.
And for more finance tips and stories like Jake's, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Finance Tips.
Thanks again for tuning in.